What is Durham holding?
A light bulb. Because he's interrogating fools. GCM with first blood. Yeah, buddy. Hey, GCM, I do actually have some footage of the police encounter that I had about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And I'll publish that when I have time to process it. And I've been busy as a squirrel trying to shit a pineapple. We will see how that turns out. It's just a matter of getting around to it. Here, let's do this. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm all right. You covered all the Woke Wednesday stuff already.
Yeah. I wasn't too hard on the poor Miller Lite crew yesterday, was I?
I mean, at least they didn't go trans. And it's stupid. Like, no.
They didn't?
Unless I missed something. I thought they were like no more hot chicks.
Isn't that the same thing? I was more trying to make a subtle joke about what a dog the comedian they went with is. But
oh, I see. No, you did all the Woke Wednesday stuff without me. It just made me.
Yeah, sorry about that. But hey, you're here for the Durham Report, and buddy, buddy. Okay, so the Durham Report dropped. And it's basically 300 pages of... Are you ready to do this with me, Razor?
Fuck you.
Fuck you, I was right. Fuck you, I was right.
Yeah. 300 pages of a bin new. I mean, 300 pages of...
I done been noted?
Yeah.
300 pages of literally everything. Guys, the Durham Report essentially says go through and look for the craziest, farthest out there tinfoil hat conspiracy theories surrounding the whole treatment of Donald Trump throughout his presidency. And they were pretty close. But they didn't go far enough.
Yeah, there were some things that Rush talked about, and how the Trump presidency was paralyzed in its early form by the whole Russia thing. That whether or not you believed the Russia conspiracy collusion hoax, it was so toxic as a politician. It was not in your best interest to be cooperative with Trump unless you were in like an ultra safe district. And you and I have talked both on and off air about how you had to take out Jeff Sessions and you had to take out General Flynn because those were the guys that were actually Donald Trump loyalists and would have helped him enact his agenda. So everything to do with the Russia collusion, everything we've ever talked about or had different pieces of, the Durham Report appears to just kind of bring it all together and tie a bow on top and say, no, here's the puzzle piece that was missing.
And I was pretty hard on Sessions early on when he first said he was going to recuse himself from anything based on there was a Russian in the same room with me at the super conservative convention thing. Like, no. If you recuse yourself over that, then you're not here. you don't exist as an operative in this position, because if you're going to recuse yourself over something like that, then you can effectively be considered to have already been recused from literally everything, just based on the Democrats don't want me here. So I was very critical of Sessions over that to begin with, and he turned out to basically just be a quitter that was holding down the seat. Now, the kind of key takeaways from the Durham Report, what we know is basically the Russia hoax was started on not thin evidence, not bad evidence, literally on no evidence. I talked about this a lot when it first started. There was a lot that was in the public eye that should have been just a massive red flag to everybody. The FBI came out and opened a counterintelligence investigation, and they were very clear that what we're doing is we're investigating Russia and the possibility that Russia is engaged in interfering with American elections. On both sides. It's happened on both sides. On both sides.
Yeah, because they spent like $100,000 on Facebook ads.
At which time they gave the Clinton campaign, with Obama's explicit knowledge and sign-off, a detailed threat brief on the possibility of Russia being engaged in foreign election interference against the United States interests. They did not do anything like that for Donald Trump. If you'll remember, at the same time, there were some significant questions around things like the Clinton Foundation, the Haiti incident. Essentially, the Clintons got caught with their hands in the cookie jar, money laundering all over the place, and most importantly, they were money laundering campaign contributions from foreign powers through the Clinton Foundation. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is an adjudicated fact. That is not something that's in question. But those activities were not investigated. The FBI simply declined to investigate. But then you move over to the situation with Donald Trump, and precisely 5 days before the FBI began the whole witch hunt, we actually have on record Hillary Clinton approving the go-ahead for an active anti-Trump opposition research and defamation campaign as a political activity. So here's the thing about that. An opposition research campaign and a smear campaign conducted against your political rival, while it may be distasteful, while it may sound dirty to the average citizen, to the average voter, is, let's be real, business as usual in politics generally, and especially in higher level American politics. The conduct of a smear campaign, the conduct of opposition research, totally above board, normal shit for a political campaign. However, what the Durham Report shows us is that the Obama administration, the Obama administration's FBI, and the Democrat National Committee were all read in, briefed, and actively involved in this activity. That takes the conduct of opposition research and a smear campaign against a rival, a political rival, from being the normal course of campaign activity to being an agency of the U.S. government in collusion, because they love that word. But here's the right word, and there's a reason they said collusion over and over again. The word is conspiracy. The Clinton campaign was engaged in a high-level conspiracy with the FBI, the Democrat National Committee, and the Obama administration. This is not the tinfoil hat conspiracy theory that you were told it was. Now with the Durham Report, we know this to be the actual occurrence. And I'm going to be a little hard on Durham in a minute here because he uses a lot of very soft language to make his points in the report. It's kind of disappointing. But he is very clear that there was never any evidence to support not the desired outcome of the Russia collusion investigation. No. There was never any, not bad, not weak, not thin, not insufficient. There was never any evidence on which to open the Russia investigation to begin with. At its core, the conduct of the Russia investigation against Donald Trump was criminal activity conducted by an American law enforcement agency. Those organizations that I mentioned, the FBI, the DNC, the Obama administration, the Clinton campaign, right? And don't forget, you got to bring in Perkins Coie and Fusion GPS. At a minimum, those 6 organizations were engaged in a high-level conspiracy to commit fraud against the American people. Conspiracy to defraud the American people. Notice I didn't say election fraud. I said conspiracy to defraud the American people.
Hey, real quick. Remember when Peter Strzok had that conversation with Lisa Page about the insurance policy?
The one where he said, "I know there's no there, but we have to investigate this all the way to the ground."
I mean, this is the insurance policy. I didn't mean to break your thread. It just, I wanted to just put that in. Just that insurance policy we heard so much about.
Yeah, and this is it. So, there's your introduction to findings. Durham Report is a document produced by Special Counsel John Durham after a 4-year investigation into the origins of the FBI's probe into potential links between Russian officials and Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Recently released, the report has garnered attention from its withering criticism of the FBI and its impact on the agency's actions going forward. The Durham Report finds no credible evidence for the Russia investigation. After a thorough 4-year investigation has concluded that there was never any credible evidence or corroboration of thin evidence on which to begin the Russia investigation. This finding is significant because it undermines the entire basis for the FBI's probe into potential links between Russian officials and Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. And Alex McDonald says it confirmed what we already knew. Yes. Exactly. At the end of the day, we didn't learn anything new from the Durham Report. The Durham Report just says, yes, you were right. Okay, I took the math test, and the teacher went back with a red pen and found no errors. The report's conclusion has been met with both criticism and praise, with some arguing that it vindicates President Trump and others claiming that it is a whitewash of the FBI's actions. 2 things can be true at one time. Here's the problem with the language in the report. It uses a lot of weasel words that I dislike. It says things like, the FBI mishandled a situation. The FBI failed to adequately adhere to protocol or failed to adequately follow policy. The FBI did this thing sloppily. It reads like the FBI was incompetent. It reads like the FBI committed errors and made mistakes. But you can never attribute to incompetence that which can only be explained by malice. There is an amount of incompetence that vitiates the concept that the incompetence is unintentional. At a certain point, if somebody keeps hitting their thumb with a hammer, you should go ahead and ask if maybe they have an opioid addiction. right? There's incompetence, and then there's repeated incompetence that cannot be the result of anything other than a desire to achieve the obvious, predictable outcome. I made the same point with regard to Obamacare. Despite the evidence against its efficacy and the obvious probable outcomes. And okay, I kind of lost my thread there. Cameron, you got any pickup?
Well, yeah, I have a lot. But to take it a step back and say, okay, what did we learn that was new? And, essentially the question is, what difference does it make? Okay, yes, the point is well taken. There's not really anything here that's new. These are things that we already suspected, and a good bit of it we'd even had proof of. However, the place that we're in a war for information. We're in a war for hearts and minds, and how people perceive things directly impacts their actions. There's a reason why that very same fucking FBI came in and said, hey, there's a Russian disinformation about a Hunter Biden laptop that might have a bunch of homemade porn and dirty business dealings on it. So if that comes up, it's all bullshit. So what difference does this make, on a high level? None. I don't expect anybody is going to go to jail. Like, Obama can never go to jail. Like, if that will not happen. The first black president of the country, he's the one who could literally shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and it wouldn't matter. However, once you dig down a little bit, what difference does it make? This is another piece of evidence. This is another thing that can be used to penetrate bubbles. This is another thing that cannot be ignored. And there's this pattern of behavior beginning to emerge where all of these things are delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. I'm trying not to look at any of that. All of this is more interesting when it's delayed. Not more interesting, but when it's delayed. This is another tactic. The justice delayed is justice denied. Like, for example, Carrie Lake's finally going to get a day in court. Now, 6 months later, it's not going to make any damn difference at this point. But
and Carrie Lake very well may prove her case.
But it's too late. Yeah, exactly. So, for anybody that can be persuaded by facts and evidence, this is another piece of that fact pattern. This is another thing that has happened. There's been this big, long delay, and now we find out, actually the government was not just incompetent, but was malicious the entire time. They had a predetermined outcome. Like, we've known for years that they lied to get the oh, damn it, not the FOIAs, but the FISAs. Yeah, FISAs. They lied to get the FISAs.
In fact, somebody is serving time in prison right now because he fabricated evidence and deleted exculpatory evidence related to the acquisition of the Pfizer warrants on Carter Page, and conducted illegal wiretapping and surveillance operations against an American citizen based on intentionally fabricated evidence. It's that is the pattern for the whole group. So at the end of the day, what you're seeing here is the people that want you to believe that the 2020 election was the safest and most secure election of all time conducted a coup and active, the FBI fabricated evidence and conducted an illegal criminal investigation which was used to attempt to prevent Donald Trump from winning the election in 2016, and upon its failure, was continued as an ongoing campaign to frustrate and retard his administration throughout the entirety of his tenure in the White House. The DNC, the FBI, and the Obama administration, in conjunction with the Clinton campaign,
and the Bidens, they were knee deep in this
and
as
the
well.
Bidens, yes.
That's
we're
all pretty clear.
we're engaged in no less than the seditious conspiracy with which they charged the Proud Boys for the crime of being near the Capitol on January 6th.
Oh no, Chris, they had a group thread where they said spicy things about how the government needs to go down.
Yeah, I've seen the group thread. Let me tell you something. They had a group thread where the FBI agents in the group thread said spicy things about how the government needs to go down.
Yeah, look, I was being funny, but look, just to put a bow on it, I don't think that this is going to be a thing that means anybody involved goes to jail or is even really censured. I don't expect that to happen. But what I do expect is for people like us to go through, to detail, to understand. It's one thing to know that your enemy defeated you. It's another thing entirely to be able to look at it, the whole thing, a year later and talk to all the survivors and realize, if we'd have made just a couple of different choices at point A and point B, we could have won that fight. And so...
Now, the problem with that is that our elected Republicans do not have the stones.
Yes, but I'm not talking about our elected Republicans.
To take the actions that you're discussing.
I'm talking about us. I'm talking about people like the folks that are in our chat. I'm talking about people like the TPS report. This is another thing that we can use, that we can point to, that is based on fact, that we predicted correctly. We're almost entirely 100% correct in our predictions, as a matter of fact, comically so. And now we can use it as the next piece of argument when we want to bring something up. There are, I don't know how many of these people were telling the truth, but so many people said, had they known about the Hunter Biden laptop, they would not have voted for Joe Biden. That one thing alone was enough to swing the 2020 election. And they tried to swing the 2016 election, but Trump was so legitimately popular, he overwhelmed their system.
Yeah, so that you're talking about, that number is somewhere between 16 and 20% of Democrats that voted said that had they known about the laptop, they would have either not voted or they would have voted for Donald Trump instead. To be very clear, if 50% of those people were lying, that's still a different election outcome.
So, but all that to be said, that's why I think this is important. It's when we say, hey, turns out the FBI had surveillance on Kyle Rittenhouse and knew he was innocent, didn't bother turning that shit over until the last second. Right? And you move
why isn't the FBI being charged with obstruction of justice?
Well, but what I'm saying, but like even the Gretchen Whitmer thing, like, oh, it turns out like half the guys in the plot were feds, So yes, we need to be willing to make bold statements like it is time to abolish the FBI. And when people say, oh my God, you're crazy, why would you say such a thing? Well, we've got this long list of things that we can check off and go, actually, the FBI A and the FBI B and the FBI C. And look, this is a long pattern of behavior. They used to tell MLK he needed to kill himself. Or they would publicly release the information they had about all the affairs he was having. You can commit suicide or we will humiliate you.
Yeah, look at
Flynn. That's the FBI.
Look at General Flynn. They've ruined him, and then they said, okay, now that we've bankrupted you and taken away your homes, we're going to go after, and you can't afford to mount a legal defense for anyone else. Now we're going to go after your son. We're going to go after your family, and we're going to ruin them the same way we ruined you until you capitulate. That's who you're dealing with here. Now, the FBI, of course, has already released a statement, and they've said, look, we knew that there were some mistakes. We're sorry that happened.
Oopsie poopsie.
And we've already implemented retraining and punishments to deal with this. I can tell you this. Sufficient corrective action has not been taken because the fact is that the FBI continues to exist. It is this simple. The FBI as an institution has been so grossly corrupted by its political inculcation and its connections to the Democrat National Committee during the commission of a coup, a seditious conspiracy to defraud the people of the United States of America. The only reasonable, and I might add, tolerable within the confines of the law outcome is for the Obama administration, and I do mean the administration, the FBI, the DNC, and the Hillary Clinton campaign, along with their co-conspirators like Perkins Coie and Fusion GPS, they need to be RICO'd for seditious conspiracy and conspiracy to defraud the American people. At a minimum, what they did is conducted a soft coup against the United States. And when that didn't work, those same people, and this doesn't have to be taken from analysis and speculation, we have them saying it on video in front of cameras, supported, encouraged, and directly funded violent activism across the country, up to and including the 2020 Summer of Love riots, with mass burnings, murders, and just outright violence. To such an extent that you cannot forget the May 29th coup, insurrection, where a swarm of BLM terrorists set the church across from the White House on fire, tore down the barricades, charged the White House, and caused the president's security to force him into the secure bunker because Molotov-throwing terrorists were attacking the White House. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what an insurrection looks like. It does not look like little old ladies walking between the velvet ropes on public property during normal business hours.
So, let's just be clear, okay? I have not read the entire 360-page report. I was at work yesterday. I suspect most of you were at work
I was also
yesterday.
busy. I got through a lot of it, though.
But the things that came out of it, yes, it's all stuff that we knew, but there's certain things that, like, for example, at one point, Comey said, "Hey, everybody, quit writing memos about this."
Right.
Gee, I wonder why you don't want your activity documented.
Stop documenting the conspiracy.
Right. You know, we all joke about how, like, the bad guy never actually types out an email that says, "This is my evil plan." Wah! Only
Right.
in this case, they were actually typing out their evil plan.
Yeah,
and
essentially, we call it the monologuing.
And Comey had to tell them to stop. So, but just so that we're clear, okay, everybody was in on it. Everybody knew about it. And when they say we're taking corrective action. Oh, I have no doubt that they're taking corrective action. They're going to make it much more difficult to ever get caught doing this shit ever again. That's what yes, absolutely corrective action. I dare you to catch them the next time.
Well, and we didn't catch them the next time. What they learned in 2016 is that there actually is a point at which not enough Americans will believe your lies for you to illicitly manipulate them into throwing an election so that you can take it unfairly. And so the next time the question came up, they chose a different solution. They chose a different tactic. They chose ballot harvesting.
Well, and the fortification and the man, I'm still the one that still just burns my ass is the Hunter laptop on.
And the fact that the same FBI that clearly, intentionally, and unlawfully conducted the Russia hoax against Donald Trump at the direct and explicit direction of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, the fact that that same FBI, which, mind you, had the Hunter laptop in their possession a full year before the 2020 election, actually engaged in discrediting what we now know to be absolutely pertinent, authentic evidence of significant wrongdoing. And the people who want you to believe that the 2020 election was the most secure election of all time are going to argue with the Durham Report, and they're going to try and downplay it and say it didn't happen. And that's where we are. And the fact is that the only way there's ever a solution to this is if Donald Trump wins in 2024 and has the wisdom and presence of thought to fire everybody. 50% of the FBI should be fired for cause on day one at the barest minimum. And that's all I've got for today.
Anytime you're talking about cutting an alphabet soup agency in half, I'm already harder than Chinese algebra. So
Absolutely.
like I'm definitely on board with that. I would just like to add briefly.
We should start selling T-shirts that say "Abolish the alphabet."
There you go. Oh, see, that's a good double pun, especially with what Alex discussed doing on his show on Monday night. I was like, "Woo, that might be a fun crossover."
I missed it Monday. Well, I'll have to catch up later.
He talked about things you could do to certain flags, and it was interesting.
The poor homeless guy that got arrested for shitting on the gay flag.
Yes, but look. Resist the black pill on this. The one thing that the commies want, and this is why I fight so even in our own internal group chat, I am vociferously anti-black pill because the commies want you black pilled. They want you demoralized. They want you to feel like there is no point, there is no hope. They don't have to cheat if you don't try. So why do they continue to shove obvious bullshit in your face? You know it's bullshit. They know it's bullshit. They know that it's bullshit. And they keep shoving it in your face. They do it for the emotional reaction. They do it because human beings have fuck it points. And they want for you to hit a very specific fuck it point where you either do something dumb and fight back in a very inefficient way and now they're allowed to arrest you and throw you in jail forever, or you quit and give up. So when you say, well, and I see this on Twitter, I've termed it hot chick red pill Twitter, and it's exactly what it sounds like it is.
Redheaded libertarian.
Well, no, I mean, there's a whole bunch of really good looking women on Twitter that are super fucking based, and a lot of them are very nonplussed by this. Well, what good is it going to do? What's the point? Okay, yeah, sure, we suspected this, and now we've got the Durham Report that confirms it, like in black and white, clear as crystal, and nobody's going to get arrested over this. And I really understand and appreciate where these ladies are coming from. But I would argue, I would implore you, resist that black pill. The left wants you demoralized. We are still the majority. We never stopped being the majority. That whole trans agenda thing, most people, even leftists, are like, yeah, but not the kids, right? Keep it away from the kids. Yes, we are still the vast majority in this country. We never stopped being a center-right country based on Judeo-Christian ethics. Don't let them trick you otherwise. And that's why I think the Durham Report is important.
Yep. All right, guys, thanks for watching this morning. Y'all be safe out there. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.